Yo, what's going on, man? Today is the 8th of July, and I got my guy Ski tuned in on the East Coast. My guy Ski rocking with me. We're gonna get into we don't have any WNBA games for today, and I don't have a recap because I didn't give out any official players yesterday. I actually didn't make any plays. I just went through and watched the games. Trying to get redialed in. Like I said, I needed to take a step back just because there was so much variance in the WNBA with the Olympic break coming up. So I didn't place a bet yesterday. But me and Ski wanted, well, I wanted to, and I extended the invitation to Ski to, kind of talk about some of the off-season moves. I always talk about, you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. It's a lot going on in the NBA in the off-season already. Got the Olympics about to start, but we got free agency, we got the draft that's happened already. So I kind of wanted to go through and look at, provide some updated content on what I'm thinking so far. And I wanted to bring along, another excellent handicapper as well. So Ski, you've been on my show before, but it's been a while. So introduce yourself if you want to, and telling people where they can find all your work. For people who don't know, Ski crushed the NBA. He caps the WNBA as well. But tell them a little bit about yourself, Ski, before we jump in.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me. I've been doing this for a while. I don't even know how many years it is at this point. Maybe like eight, seven, some years like that. But I know since the pandemic, NBA has treated me very nicely. Last 3 years have all been profitable. I think every year except the pandemic year was profitable. So all of my work, I put out on Twitter at Ski Profit. I also do work with Wager Talk, and I just enjoy helping people make money along with making money myself. So always down to talk some NBA. Like I said, appreciate you extending the invite to me, and I'm able to make the show. I could probably make it a couple, in the next 2 weeks or so, a little bit more, because I'm on the East Coast time. I know you'd be up and early with it.
Absolutely, Ski. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, hopefully Ski can come on for some WNBA shows. I know it's only one game tomorrow. The links in the Sparks, but then on Wednesday, I think it's 5 games. So yeah, the whole WNBA outside of two teams gonna be playing on Wednesday. So maybe we can get Ski on for a Wednesday show. And I think Friday is another big day as well. Thursday, I think it's only one game. Already kind of looking ahead to some of those games. So yeah, with no further ado, this is how the show gonna be. I just wanted to do a quick overview. Me and Ski will go through and talk about all of the biggest offseason moves as far as trades going on. Then we'll look at some of the betting odds for after we go through the teams. We'll go through like the top 8 teams, because realistically, it's only most of the time it's only one of those top 4 teams in each conference that even have a chance to win the championship. But then we'll also look at our favorite long shot bet if it was some value that we see out there right now. And then also if we had one favorite free, like if we had a free bet, what would our favorite free bet be? So this is what me and Ski will jump into. With no further ado, let's just do it, Ski. Let's do that. So we'll start in the Eastern Conference first. We got we'll go to the Atlantic Division, just break it down by division. So I put some graphics here on some of the things that's happened. Of course, you got Boston as the favorite to win the Atlantic Division. You guys can see the odds there. Looks like the best you could get Boston to win the division right now is a minus 155 over on ESPN Bet. These lines were updated as of yesterday. Pretty sure they haven't moved too much. We got the Nets all the way at the bottom, 60-1. The Raptors 50-1. I'm sorry, 600-1, 500-1. Then we got the Knicks and the 76ers, both tied at plus 350 here, Ski. So I guess we start with the Celtics. They re-signed Luke Kornet. Of course, Jason Tatum got his big bag, 5-year contract extension. Xavier Tillman came back. They gave Derek White a bag as well, and nobody really departed. That was the first year that Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday was on the team, and they got the job done. I know this was a team that you were really high on to start of last season, even though it was the first year that they were all together. But well, a couple of the new additions, impact players though, a couple of the new additions being together. Ski, what's your take on Boston? You think they got enough to run it back? Do you agree with them being the favorite to win it again next year?
Absolutely. I mean, they didn't lose anybody. When this team got together, when they added Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday, I knew immediately they're gonna, that's gonna put them over the top. It's a team who I think they've been winning this division majority of these years that they've been going to the Eastern Conference. So it makes sense why they're minus 165. Now, am I willing to bet minus 165? No, I don't think that's what I'm gonna put my money at for a long-term wager to win a division. So they are rightfully the favorite. They absolutely have enough to run it back, but there's some challengers who got better in this division as well. So Still high on Boston. It's just the field has gotten stronger.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also think, Ski, as good as Boston was, it just depends. Like, some people say if you look at it from a hating perspective, or you're a Boston fan, you think that they should have won. If you're looking at it from a hater perspective, or you're trying to be honest about it. Boston they were really, really good. Of course, I do think that they were the best team in the Eastern Conference, but they also kind of like had a moonwalk to the finals. Like they got Cleveland in the first round, who was injured. Well, they got Miami in the first round that was, had an injured Jimmy Butler. Then they ended up playing Cleveland in the second round. They hobbled as well. Jared Allen being out. Donovan Mitchell missed the last couple games. Then they got the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton didn't finish off that series. And so I would agree with you, Ski. That's enough on Boston. I do think that they are the cream of the crop in the Eastern Conference for sure. And you're going to have to see it with the field. I agree with you. The field definitely got a lot better. So speaking of the field, next team up, Ski, we got the 76ers, plus 350. I think when I was looking at the list, Boston is Philly, actually the third best odds, Ski, to win the chip. Plus 850 is the best odds you can get for Philly to win the chip. The third shortest odds of any team in the NBA. And of course, a lot of that has to do with the Paul George coming over, getting a 4-year deal. You bring over Eric Gordon from Phoenix. Caleb Martin is another big signing coming down from Miami. We know he's a two-way player that can really play defense. But also you get Maxey $200 million. Kelly Oubre comes back on a 2-year deal, and you get Drummond. So now you got a little insurance if Embiid goes down, because we know he's been a little injury prone. You do lose Nicholas Batum. I think he went back to the Clippers. Mo Bamba also went to the Clippers. Buddy Hield is in the Bay with Golden State. He's a Splash brother now. And DeAnthony Milton also. What's your thoughts on early thoughts, Ski, on Philly and the moves that they've made so far?
Let me just make sure I'm understanding correctly. We're just talking about division, right? We're not going to talk about conference winners or both.
It's up to you. Whatever you want to talk about.
So what I'll say about this Philly team is they got a lot better. When I saw them add Buddy Hield to this team, I thought he would be a big piece. I thought he would space the floor and help them out quite a bit, but it didn't really work out that way. So I'm looking now. I mean, getting Paul George is a huge deal. He can 3-and-D. Buddy Hield's not a real good defender, but Paul George 3-and-D. He can get you a bucket when you need one. Just to pair him with both Maxey and Embiid, it's going to be hard to beat this team, especially during the regular season. We know the one knock I have on this team, and by the way, I like Caleb Martin on this team as well. The one knock I have on this team is you have two of the big three who are extremely injury prone. And I don't wish injuries on anybody, but I'll say this. If I want to bet on Philly to do anything, it will be during the regular season, because we've seen time and time again, when we get to the playoffs, number 21 starts falling apart. Paul George, he's missed the playoffs a few years. So I don't want to trust them long term as far as like winning the Eastern Conference. But at plus 350 odds to maybe challenge the Celtics in the regular season, I can see that being, worth a little bit of something there. So it could be a shot for the Sixers team. But to win the East, absolutely not.
Yeah, right there with Ski on this one. I saw a post, Ski said who's stopping this team, and it had Maxey, Embiid, and Paul George, and somebody said they retweeted and said head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
That's exactly what it is, man. I don't want it to be that, but just until they show me otherwise, that's what I'm gonna believe.
I'm right there with you, Ski. Right there with you, man. You really just need them to stay healthy, man. Specifically Embiid, because we know how dominant he can be, and I love the additions. I like Nick Nurse as a coach as well. You get Glenn Rivers up out of there, so we know he's a defensive-minded coach that also has a championship in his Toronto days. So right there with you on this one, Ski. All right, let's go over to New York. They also sitting at plus 350 to win the division. Ski at plus 350 looks like is pretty much the consensus on all the sports books right now. So the Knicks, they also, in my opinion, got a little bit better. You return OG Anunoby, who was rumored to not want to come back. They lock him up for a 5-year deal, and then you also add Mikal Bridges from right up the street. Coming over from the Nets. They get Bates Diop, which I don't know how much he means. But Bogdanovich leaves, Alex Burks leaves, Diakite leaves. Isaiah Hartenstein, of course, is a pretty big loss. He goes to OKC, which we'll touch on them a little bit more in a second. and then Shake Milton leaves as well. He wasn't really part of the rotation. So what are your early thoughts on the Nova Knicks here, Ski? What are you thinking at plus 350 for them?
Well, team chemistry is on 1,000 already. You don't got to worry about Mikal Bridges fitting in. That's kind of how I feel about this team. And they showed that they can be, they showed that they can, battle with everybody in the East. I feel like they were injured and, kind of ran out of gas, etc. But I think with Bridges, it really makes them a contender. They match up really well with the Boston Celtics as far as, being able to maybe now defend some of those wings that they got. I think the Knicks at plus 350 there to win the division. It's worth a look, just like Philly is. I mean, they can do it, especially if Boston has an injury to one of their starting five. I think this team should be really good. I would prefer, I'll say like this. The Sixers, I can see them still winning the division. But if we're talking about long-term odds, like conference, I would prefer the Knicks over the Sixers. None of these guys really have an injury history. The only thing you have to worry about is Tibbs running them into the ground. So I think they have a really good group. OG returns, that's huge for them. Just thinking about it, you can put OG and Bridges on Tatum and Brown. I mean, I think they're live. I really do. So plus 350 to win the division, not mad at that. And depending on the price for Eastern Conference, could be worth a shot.
Yeah, I think so too, Ski. And also, I want your thoughts on this real quick, Ski, before we move on. We'll touch on the Raptors and the Nets real quick before we move on to the next division. But do you kind of feel like when teams win the championship, they're not as keen on, just going, foot to like you kind of ease into the season. So potentially, I don't know if we want to fade Boston at the beginning of the season. Pretty sure that all of those spreads are going to be super, super big. But you kind of feel like, like they probably let up off the gas a little bit. I see Tatum reporting to Olympic team a little late. He got his championship gear on yesterday. Like you feel the same about that? And I think it's consistent with all the teams that win.
I'm with you on that. I mean, it's a little bit of an exhale. How long have they been chasing this championship? They finally get it, and now you can exhale, and a little bit of the pressure has been taken off. It's a lot different than the year before, where they're coming in with a chip on their shoulder, trying to really prove something. You also have Tatum about to have a kid. You have who knows what Jaylen Brown working on over there. I saw him in the parade, so I don't know that the focus is going to be there out the gate. I would agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. I was making sure I wasn't crazy. Won't trip it because I was looking at it the same way. And I think the Tatum, Deuce having a little baby brother, little sister is definitely something that impacts it as well. I think that they'll lock in when they need to, but yeah, out the gate, man, I don't think they're gonna go, super hard at all. And that's what we saw at home this year. So sounds like we in agreement so far, Ski. So last two teams real quick. So we got the Raptors and then we got the Nets. So quick on the Raptors. They did re-sign Scotty Barnes, locked him up for 5 years. Quickly also got a 5-year deal. Garrett Temple, OG, one of the vets on the team, 1-year deal. They add Davion Mitchell coming over from the Kings in a trade, and Vesenkov as well coming over in that trade, going to Toronto. And Jalen McDaniels, Jaden brother, also ended up being traded in the package for Davion and Sasha Vesenkov. So Toronto, we see the odds. Anything specific jump out to you about Toronto, or you think it's just going to be a rebuild year? You think how do you think about betting Toronto? Is it just overs again because we don't think that they're going to be able to guard anybody? What are your thoughts on Toronto early?
Well, Davion Mitchell will help out a little bit with guarding somebody, but in general, I mean, when you have Quickly and I'm forgetting what was the other addition they made in the middle of the year, but it was Quickly and somebody else that liked to play with pace. So I would agree. Probably overs for this Toronto team. They're absolutely not a contender. You might as well go buy a lottery ticket if you think about putting something on that plus 2,500. Just go feed a homeless person or something. Do something nice for somebody with that money rather than just burn it. So Raptors.
Right there.
Take them a few years.
Yeah,
people hungry out here, man. Don't waste your money on this Raptors future.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, man. Right there with Ski on this one. Toronto, I don't think it's going to be serious. Now, will they play a little, competitive and play fast? I would agree with that. But right there with Ski on this one. I think Dennis Schroeder might still be there. Gary Trent Jr., I know he's looking for like a minimum, not a minimum, but like a one of those like in between type deals. He's not gonna get max, but he'll you know, looking for his money. Yeah, yeah. I'm with you on this, Key. And then last but not least, the Brooklyn Nets. They don't really do anything, Ski. They did re-sign Nicholas Claxton to a new deal. They get Bogdanovich, Shake Milton, and Diakite in the Knicks trade that sent Mikal Bridges to New York. But that, I feel like it's a dumpster fire in Brooklyn. It's almost like what we saw, you know, before they got KG and Paul Pierce back in the day. What is there anything we doing with this Brooklyn Nets team, Ski? One of the most frustrating teams to bet on last year. What do you think about the Brooklyn Nets?
I will not have a lot of money on the Brooklyn Nets probably next year, unless it's just an absolute really good spot for them. I mean, you probably have a group of guys who maybe have something to prove, but just don't have a whole lot of talent. So, I mean, you can't bet any futures with this team. This will be a team where you'll be looking for a play-on spot for them and another team to be overlooking them. And then maybe you can get one of those spreads, you know, where you can make some money, but not a whole lot to like for this Brooklyn Nets team.
Yeah, right there with you, Ski. Right there with you. Yeah, Brooklyn is man. I just felt like I didn't really enjoy watching Brooklyn Nets basketball last year. They shot so many threes, and a lot of times they were just missing. Yeah, they played slow. It just wasn't good basketball in my opinion. Now you lose Mikal Bridges, so like you said, they gonna want to play better, but I don't think they got enough talent to be competitive in the eyes to say that they don't either. So let's transition. Let's go over to the Central Division. Also a division, Ski, where we don't see a lot of moves. Like you got the Bucks to win the Central at -160. It looks like the best odds. Cleveland at +350. The Pacers at +425. And then the Bulls and the Pistons. We probably touch on them real quickly. But the Bucks don't make a lot of moves, Ski. They didn't re-sign anyone. They do Taurean Prince that comes over from our LA Lakers. And DeLon Wright agrees to a 1-year deal. They lose Malik Beasley. He goes and gets, I think, an 8-year deal to the Detroit Pistons. What are we thinking about the Bucks? Now, granted, they missed the play. Well, not missed the playoffs, but they ended up losing last year. Of course, it was the second year in a row we see an unhealthy Giannis in the playoffs, and they lose in the first round the year before to the Bulls. To the Heat. I'm sorry. And last year, like I said, he gets hurt. Damian Lillard also missed, and they ended up getting, I guess you could say, upset by the Indiana Pacers. I think that series would have went a little bit different if they did play. So do the Bucks need to make moves here, Ski, or do they just need to worry about being healthy, almost like we talk about with Philly?
The Bucks need to blow it up. That's what they need to do. First of all, back to last year, I have no clue why you would go for give away Drew Holiday and add Damian Lillard. I mean, what has Damian Lillard really done to make you think he's going to get you over the hump? Drew Holiday's been nothing but a winner and does everything for his team. So I think that was the start of the decline right there. Or not the start, but a part of the decline right there. Obviously, Middleton hasn't been looking like that championship Middleton anymore. I feel like Beasley was okay in a Bucks uniform. They're going to miss his shooting. Taurean Prince, I mean, come on, man. Yeah, I don't know how this guy. I mean, I do know how he's getting away with it. He's just following Darvin Ham wherever he goes. They're boys. It was some favoritism in LA with Darvin Ham and Taurean Prince. So I'm not big on his addition. I'm happy that he's not a Laker. It's not a whole lot to like for this Bucks team. I think that they're not going to win. Everybody around them is getting better, and they're getting worse. So as far as Eastern Conference, I don't think they even have a chance. And they have two of the worst coaches. They got Glenn Rivers and Darvin Ham. No way that they're doing anything this year. Absolutely not. As far as division, -185, no way I'm putting my money on that. I would be taking a flyer on one of these next two we'll talk about.
Yeah. I could only agree with you, Ski. Could only agree with you here. I forgot. I didn't mention Darvin Ham sandwich being in Milwaukee now. Oh
my God! So it's a disaster at the coaching staff over there.
It's a horrible disaster over there, and you got to worry about the health. And you said that all the teams around them are getting better, and they're not getting any better. I would also go out and say that they're getting older. Like Dame's no spring chicken anymore. Yeah. Giannis is getting up there in age. You still got a old Brooke Lopez. who looked like a shell of himself at certain times last year. A lot of guards, bringing him outside the paint and just barbecue chicken. He barbecue chicken out there on the perimeter. He can't move his feet laterally enough at all. So yeah, definitely not, laying the minus 160 with the Bucks that, we haven't even seen them stay healthy for the last 2 years. Will they have something to prove? Yes. Do they have enough depth and enough talent on this team just because they have the big names, the big shiny, toys and Giannis and Dame? I don't think so. So I'm right there with you on the Bucks as well, Ski. So next up, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers, also a team that was projected to, make some moves. We all thought that, a lot of people thought that Donovan Mitchell wouldn't return, but he agrees to a 3-year deal. And we also thought, and it could be, just hasn't happened yet, but they haven't really gotten rid of anyone. We thought that, there was going to be some additions and some subtractions from this team, but they've literally done nothing, Ski. So you still got, the Twin Towers down low with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. You still got Garland in the backcourt with Donovan Mitchell. Any thoughts, any early thoughts on the Cleveland Cavaliers, Ski, and them being plus 350 to win that Central Division this year?
I'm surprised to see Donovan Mitchell, expected to be in the Cavs uniform for 3 more years. I thought he was absolutely done with this team, just from watching body language, whatever, etc. So seeing him back there, the same group that they've kind of had for a while. You have the Bucks getting worse. At least if they're staying where they're at, I think that gives them a chance to win this division. That it's a group that's been together for a while. I can't remember. The coach got fired, right?
Yeah, JB Bickerstaff is out, Ski. They ended up picking up is it Kenny Atkins from Golden State, one of the assistants? Cool. I think that's who they brought in. So
the group being together for a while, the group having a lot of failures. I think that they will come into the season extremely motivated. And I think that they can challenge the Bucks. I think the Bucks take another step back, and it's either going to be the Cavs or the Pacers. So I'm not mad at anybody who wants to take a chance on that. Well, best number I see right now, there's a plus 350 somewhere. So
yeah, on
Cavs
Caesars
have a shot to win the division.
Yeah, I would be right there with you, Ski. When I look back last year at the division, they missed winning the division by a game last year. It was the Bucks went 49-33, and the Cleveland Cavaliers went 48-34. So right there with you, Ski. I think Cleveland, and if we remember correctly, the Bucks had some injuries last year, but the Cavs were also injured last year. Remember, Darius Garland broke his hand. Broke his jaw. He was eating through a straw for like a little bit. Mitchell was out. Yeah, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, both of those guys were out of the rotation. So you making the Cavs look a little good right now, and they probably feel like they underachieved because I think in Donovan Mitchell's eyes is championship or bust, and they probably felt like even though they lost to Boston, they were able to get one game, but they probably feel like they need to go a little bit harder this year. And depending on what Kenny Atkins brings in and how that kind of changes things, if they can still be solid on the defensive end, which I feel like they can, Evan Mobley probably continues to get a little bit better. Jared Allen's still anchoring the rim, so they don't get rid of those Twin Towers down low. Max Strus gets a chance to be another year around the team. He probably shoots the ball a little bit better this year than he did last year. So yeah, I like the development for this team, Ski. I would be with you on Cavs plus the 350 to win the division, especially with them only losing it, like I said, by one game last year. All right, let's go to Indiana, Ski. We got a Pacers team that I think a lot of people probably think exceeded expectations last year. They re-signed Pascal Siakam on a 4-year deal. Obi Toppin played really, really good for them coming over from New York. He gets a 4-year deal. They also add some depth because they lose Jalen Smith in free agency, but they add James Wiseman coming over from Detroit. So Pacers look. We could give credit to I guess discredit them saying it was the injuries for the Bucks, but when Tyrese Halliburton is out there, who also dealt with injuries last season, when he's out there, Ski, this we know how the Pacers like to play. It is one speed. It's 150 miles per hour. Even if the car only go 100, if it's a 2001, Cadillac on 4 flats, he's still trying to push it. So with that in mind, Ski, how would we play the Pacers if we can get them at plus 425 to win the Central Division?
I think, just like the Cavaliers, I do think they're live. I look at this team, man. I feel like they figured out their identity and they started to trend upwards like rapidly. Like you said, they're gonna run. They were a historic offense, as a matter of fact. So we saw them go up against a really tough defense, and they were pushing those Boston Celtics. They could have won some of those games.
Yeah.
They were very close to winning some of those games. So just thinking about the confidence level of those young players coming into this next year, just knowing how they played last year. They get Siakam again. I think he was huge for them. I'm not ready to give up on Wiseman. I think Wiseman can still be an impact player. It's just a matter of who's going to bring it out of him. So I think the Pacers continue to go upwards, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win this division either. So whether it's the Pacers or the Cavs, I think either one is worth a shot here.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely not the Bucks. Definitely not the Bucks. So it just depends, right? I think Mike Drop 00 said 00 says the Holly hype should be over. He kind of mid. I don't know if I agree with this. I think a lot of it had to do with I think it was a hamstring injury that was kind of lingering. Of course, he wanted to play through it so he wouldn't be incentivized because he would have lost out on millions by not playing. So with him playing those games and being able to qualify for whatever he needed to qualify for.
Good point.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that he was mid.
Good point. Because he was playing really, really good before that. And then it was similar to the Joel Embiid thing, right? He had to keep playing to make his money. So that's why he was looking not as good. I agree with that.
Yeah. I would think, because he was killing before that. And then we saw him kind of, take a step back. And he didn't want to blame it on the injuries. I agree with that as well. So, yeah, me and Ski, neither one of us high on the Bucks to win the division. I know I would not put a single dollar on the Bucks winning the division, especially at minus 160. But it would be Cavs Pacers. What about Bulls and Pistons, Ski, real quick? Pretty sure, just to go through them, we got some Bulls fans on here. We might have a Pistons fan on here. They subscribe to the channel as well. 15,000 to 1, plus 15,000 and a plus 50,000. So the Bulls, they dumpster fire, Ski. They re-signed Patrick Williams to a 5-year deal. Chris Duarte comes over in that trade from the Kings. They also get Josh Giddey from the trade with Alex Caruso, and then Jalen Smith signs a 3-year deal with them coming over from the Pacers that we just talked about. So I talked about Caruso leaving. DeMar DeRozan, of course, is Sacramento now, and Drummond also goes to the 76ers. Ski. And there's still rumblings that Zach LaVine is not going to be on the team either. So do we need to talk about the Bulls, Ski? Or I mean, you got Lonzo, I guess, potentially. He's supposed to be back at the beginning of the season. I don't know who he's going to be out there with, but should we even talk about them, Ski? Kobe White, explosion here. Is that who we bet on?
It's not a whole lot to talk about. I'll say it looks to me like the Bulls are ready to blow it up. I mean, Caruso for Giddey. I mean, what are you even doing right there, bro? For real. I have no clue what that is about. And then DeMar DeRozan, they're letting him go. I mean, out of the two, I feel like, they were higher on DeRozan than Zach LaVine. A lot of it is probably Zach LaVine's contract right now. He's making a lot of money and people don't think he's worth it. So they're trying to find a suitor. They're trying to attach some picks to him just to get him out. I think it's rebuild for Chicago. As much as I love Lonzo, I haven't seen him for a while. And I don't think they really want him there either. I won't, I can't let it be forgotten, though. When Lonzo was healthy, he had these Bulls in first place. So we'll see how he looks with his new knee. And we'll see if the Bulls continue to blow it up or not. I think LaVine and Lonzo probably won't be on this team to start the season.
Yeah, they finished 10 games behind the Bucks, who won the division last year. And we thinking that they're going in the opposite direction. They really, struggled to score the basketball at times last year. They averaged 112 points per game, which is really not enough when your defense is going to be kind of mid. And I'm not really high on this Bulls team either. Sorry, Bulls fans. I know it's some people who support the channel that like the Bulls. They're probably not high on the Bulls either. Kevin in the chat says lunch meat Lonzo. Think he's gonna get cooked on defense this year with his new knees?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's one thing he's gonna do. He's gonna clamp. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We'll see how he looks and what team he even ends up on. But yeah, nothing to do with this Bulls team. Don't want to spend too much time here. All right, last but not least, we got the Detroit Pistons, and probably least, we got the Detroit Pistons. They make a couple moves, Ski. They get they give Cade Cunningham, they give Cade Cunningham the official keys to the city. I think he got a $200 million deal, $200 million, 5 years. Yeah, they get Fontecchio, Simone Fontecchio agrees on a 2-year deal, knockdown shooter that comes over from Utah in the middle of the season. They get Malik Beasley from the Bucks, same division, of course, and then Tim Hardaway Jr. comes over from the Mavs as well. He looked like a shell of himself after the season. After the closer to the playoffs. Tobias Harris get a 2-year deal. I think he got his change. And Wendell Moore comes over from the Mavs. He didn't do too much last year. They lose Quentin Grimes to the Mavs, and then James Wiseman, like we talked about, already left as well. Detroit plus 50,000 Ski to win the Central Division. Last season, of course, they had that historic bad historic run. They won 14 games. They finished 35 games behind the Milwaukee Bucks in the division. Won just 7 games at home, 7 games on the road. What are your thoughts on the Bucks? I know you're not taking them at all at this price to win the division, but what are your thoughts on the Bucks real quick?
Trash. That's what I think. To sum it all up, how much Tobias Harris got paid? What, $50 million? Bro, if Tobias Harris getting paid $50 million, I tell you what state your team is in. And then Tim Hardaway Jr., like he said, he's been a shell of himself. At one point during the finals, they were saying something like he ain't made a shot since March or something. Like, I don't know what Detroit is doing right now, bro, for real. And I don't agree with getting rid of. Well, actually, he was a free agent, Wiseman, but I feel like they're in just limbo. They're in free fall. They don't know what they're doing. We don't know what they're doing. There's going to be another team in the league.
I would agree with that. Ski, what do you think about so they fired Monty after just 1 year, and they said he was disconnected from the locker room, blah blah blah. You bring in Coach JB Bickerstaff. I don't know if Bickerstaff wants these problems, but now he's the head coach. Does that move the needle at all with Bickerstaff potentially being a better coach than Monty, or what are your thoughts on the coaching situation, Ski, before we move on to the next division?
I mean, it's not like the Pistons were just trashed that 1 year. They've been trashed. I'm trying to remember who was the coach before Monty. I don't know what they expected.
Dwayne Casey. Remember?
And they fired. What are they doing? They're just running through solid coaches.
Yeah, they are.
You need to get a good group of players together. Like, it's not the coach's fault they can't get these guys to win games. The collective talent you guys have is just not good enough. So I think they need to look in the mirror, management-wise, and start to make some better decisions. But as of this season, they're not doing. I'll be surprised if they win more than that. 14 games?
Yeah, 14 and 16.
They'll be somewhere around there again.
Yeah, right there with you, especially if we think the division is just going to continue to get better. I mean, maybe they get a couple wins over the Bulls to make them a little bit better. But yeah, I can't really see it with this team either.
Is Killian Hayes still on this team?
Killian Hayes is in like Europe somewhere, China or Japan or Jupiter. I thought he got cut from the other team. Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, I went to some Pistons games last year, man. My eyes was about to start bleeding watching some of these guys.
I remember that in the chat, Ski. I definitely remember that. Chad said they gave Monty $100 million for 1 year. I mean, essentially they did, and they still got to pay him too. They still got to pay him. Paid him 10 to coach and 90 to leave. That is absolutely insane. You talk about a franchise going backwards. This sums it up right here in less than 10 words. And we didn't even talk about Tobias in this tweet. So, yeah, KC in the chat, she says poverty.
Dude, Tobias got 50 mil, bro. 50.
Yeah,
I can't believe it.
That's crazy.
He won free agency. Shout out Tobias.
Yeah, Tobias. I saw a tweet real quick. I saw a tweet that said when he got his contract, I saw a tweet that said they was talking about how much money he done made over the course of his career, and he's like, I think like $5 million less than Clay. Or like really close to Clay, and they, pretty much came in the same time. And they were just saying that his agent needed his jersey retired, put it in the Raptors.
Hall of Fame for sure.
his agent needs his jersey retired because Tobias been taking people money for a while, man. All right, real quick, Ski. Let's go to the Southeast Division. Not a lot of moves done in this division, man. You got Orlando, which is interesting. Orlando finished really, really close to beating the Cavaliers, pushed them to a Game 7. In that first round last last year. I think I was on Orlando to win Game 7 in Cleveland as well. And Cleveland took my money in that spot. But now you get Orlando, you can actually get them to win the division at plus 100. They still are a super young team. A lot of moves being made for them. They bring back a lot of what worked last season, in my opinion. You got Gogo Batadze, who turns on a 3-year deal. Gary Harris, 2-year deal. Jonathan Isaac, I think, is a player that, as long as he can stay healthy, continues to show his value. 5-year deal for him. Franz Wagner got a 5-year deal. Mo Wagner got a 2-year deal. You get KCP, which I feel like is one of the sleeper pickups of the whole offseason so far. And you really only lose Joe Ingles, who's like 130 years old and can't really guard anybody on defense anyway. So plus 100, Ski. Last year, this team was hunting. This year, they're probably going to be a little bit more of the hunted because of how well they played last year. Exceeded expectations. Of course, Jamal Mosley. Some people think he should have won Coach of the Year over Mark Daigneault in OKC. What will we do with Orlando right now, Ski, if we can get them at plus 100 to win the Southeast? Any idea?
Well, looking at all the teams around them, I mean, this division is not very good. Minus, though, to win a division is not something I'm usually very interested in. I'll say Orlando, out of all these teams, seems to be the one that's heading in the right direction. I like the pickup of KCP because this is a team that needed some more shooting, and he provides that. And he also is a good defender, too, so he can be a part of what their identity is already. I think Paolo will take another step forward. I like Franz. Seeing him get an extension, I like that. I think this Magic team is trending in the right direction. So I think they're rightfully favored. It's just for me to lock my money up for 8 months or 7, whatever. You get what I'm saying? Half a year. I have to be getting some kind of good return. So I think they can win. I just don't think I love the price.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Ski. Sometimes we talk about, I know you talked about this a lot on your show, especially at the beginning of the season, how it took you a while to really start trusting. It was the Oklahoma City Thunder. You talked about them laying double digits and how you just like you weren't really you didn't really want to be involved in too many of those at the beginning of the season because you didn't remember them as a team that had really able to kind of take that jump. And, sometimes you can kind of get priced out. So, like I said, Orlando, they did the hunting last season, took down some of those big names. They ended up winning the division last year, only won it by a game. They ended up beating the Miami Heat by a game last season, 47-35 to 46-36. This was a really good home team, 29-12 straight up at the crib. One of the better home records actually the third best home record in the Eastern Conference behind Boston and Milwaukee. But they only won 18 of their 31 games on the road last season. Of their 41 games, on the road last season. So they did play the division pretty tough, 9-7. But I think I would need a little bit more than plus 100 because I do kind of feel like they'll win the division. But Miami is not going to be a slouch. I don't think that. And I think Miami's probably going to be a little bit more healthier than they were last season, although they do struggle with injuries as well. So in agreement with Ski here, not something that I want to do long term, not right now, especially if an injury happens at the beginning of the season. I can get better odds, with Orlando potentially winning the division. So not something I'm interested in here. Real quick, KC says Paolo and Wagner their best playmakers, and I agree with that. What up to my guy Estai? He says, "What up, Ski and Chris?" He says, "My ears were ringing." He said, Ski says, "My ears were ringing, and look what I found." Chris and Ski talking about the Southeast Division. Go Heat!
Better watch what we say next.
Yeah, I know, right? Shout out to my guy Estai. I feel like it's been a while. What up, Sly? Estai also says they can't. He's talking in the chat. He says as someone that's going to need to move the needle. They're on the cusp of the second apron. I love KCP coming over though, Ski, because when we think about them in the final round against the Cleveland Cavaliers, it was their lack of 3-point shooting. Like they shot a couple games, I know, in the less than 25% from the 3-point line in that series. So you get a knockdown shooter that can also defend. I think he blends in really, really well with the scheme that Coach Mosley and that coaching staff is going to want to run in Orlando. So I would agree with that. I love that. Contract extension for Bam. Give him 3 years. Thomas Bryant returns on a 1-year deal. Doesn't really move the needle for me too much. Kevin Love is 73. but he's still cashing them checks. Bring him back for 2 years as well. I feel like Kevin Love been playing basketball forever. You also get Alex Burks. He's a key contributor. He can be a key contributor off the bench, whatever team Alex Burks is on. Caleb Martin leaves, though, and Orlando Robinson also got waived. What are you thinking about with Miami, Ski? I heard, some rumblings about Jimmy Butler saying that he wants to have his best year ever, even though he's like 35. Miami continues to underperform in the regular season and then, kind of show up in the postseason we've seen over the last few years. They also continuously get bit by the injury bug, whether it's Jimmy Butler or, just some of those other key players. How would we look at Miami, Ski, if they are plus 135 to win the division? Do we even think that they care about the regular season?
They don't care that much because we've seen, the transformation of this Heat team once they get to the playoffs and, in recent years. So a combination of maybe they don't care about it and also they have some players who a little bit injury prone makes me hesitant to back the Miami Heat. But getting a plus price versus that minus 125 for the Magic, I think it could be worth a shot. I really love Jaime Jaquez. I think he takes another huge step forward. And like you said, Burks, he can go get a bucket. It's just a matter of health. I feel like, you could argue that too. This is a team that was up and down health-wise last season. Hero missed a big portion. If they can stay healthy, they can absolutely win this division. So combination of everything and just looking at that best number of plus 135 at DraftKings.
Plus 135 on DraftKings, yep.
I think it's worth a shot for the Heat. I think it's worth a shot.
Yeah, like I said, they only finished one game behind. I mean, so they legit only lost it by one game. And the other thing that you like about Miami, Ski, is they beat up on this division. They always do, right? Even if they don't come to play, even if they're, hampered with injuries, they always dominate the division. I think they always look at Orlando as being a little brother in the division. It's been that way for, I don't know how many years. And as far as division records, they actually had the second best division record out of any team in the Eastern Conference last year. The Boston Celtics finished 15-2 in the Atlantic, but Miami actually finished 13-3 in the Southeast. And that's a division with the Orlando Magic and an Atlanta Hawk team that had Trae Young and DeJounte Murray last season as well. So, you mentioned this, Ski. Plus 135 might not be too bad for the Miami Heat, especially if we think that, they could potentially avoid some injuries here. All right, let's go to Atlanta, Ski. So we got an Atlanta team that, man, they I don't know what Atlanta's doing. That's why I want to start. You bring in Dyson Daniels from the Pelicans, which I think he's continuing to develop his game as well. Larry Nance Jr. comes over as well in that trade for DeJounte Murray. So DeJounte Murray leaves. AJ Griffin, which he actually was an impact player for this team at times, also leaves and goes to New Orleans. So you bring back Trae Young. You still got Clint Capella. Johnson has played really, really well, exceeded expectations for them last year. What will we do with Atlanta, Ski? You think they got a chance, or are they just still going to be same on Atlanta team that, just going to be middle of the pack? What will we do with Atlanta, Ski?
I'm not willing to put any money on them to win this division for a couple of reasons. One, I think as much as I'm not a Murray fan, I think that they got worse without him. I'm not a believer that Trae Young will be sticking around. I mean, you see all this stuff he keep posting on Twitter. He wants to get out of there. So I think at some point he could be traded. And then, this is just an Atlanta team. Trae Young has told us before that they haven't really cared about the regular season. He said that it's hard to get up for those games. They just care more about the playoffs. And the way this team is looking, they might not even make the playoffs, and Trae Young might not be there either. So no way I can get in on Atlanta. I would be waiting to see, or I will be waiting to see where Young ends up.
Yeah, I agree with that, Ski. Because the other thing is, and this is why I wanted to do an update, because I don't want to do all the moves at the same time. We don't know how the rest of the offseason is going to play out. Teams could still make drastic trades that we haven't even heard about. One could break while we're doing the show right now. So you take all those things into with a grain of everything that we're saying with a grain of salt. At least until you know a little bit more, unless you feel super confident about the bet. So definitely agree with Ski there. What up to my guy RC in the chat? let's see. What else stood out? I didn't want to mention anything else. I think if you're betting on Atlanta, in my opinion, Ski, you're betting on development. You're betting on Jalen Johnson taking a step forward. You knew DeAndre Hunter to be a lot better. He only played 57 games last season. You need Onyeka Okongwu to be better. And Trae Young, they still don't have anybody to guard anybody. Trae Young is not a good defender. I don't think he ever is going to be a good defender. And that always kind of holds me up because I think that, opposing guards can always kind of take advantage of him. So I don't like that if I like Atlanta. Very quickly, Ski, probably 30 seconds on Charlotte Hornets and the Washington Wizards. Charlotte does nothing really. They bring back Miles Bridges, 3-year deal for him. I think he got $75 million. Josh Green comes over from the Mavs via the trade, and Reggie Jackson actually came over from the Nuggets as well. Guess he tired of winning. And you got Davis Bertans leaves, Bryce McGowan and Pozinski leaves as well. So Charlotte was a dumpster fire last year. Ski, they've been a dumpster fire for a while. We've seen LaMelo continuously get hurt. There's always a lower leg injury with him. And I mean, what else do they have, Ski? What are your thoughts on Charlotte? Any way you're thinking about? I know you're not looking at them to win the division, but any thoughts on Charlotte just in general?
It's not a team that I really trust with my money. I'll say that. I feel like it's a collective, maybe like one or two guys who I feel like actually really care about winning. I think it's a collective of really young players who are just happy living the NBA lifestyle. That's kind of how I view this Hornets team. They want to go out, play the game, have fun, get paid, and go party. And they're content wherever they end up in the standings. So as much as I love LaMelo, like LaMelo, I think he's still one of those players that I'm talking about. He's injury prone as well. I like Brandon Miller. I really do. And I'm a big Vasilija Micic fan just from watching EuroLeague. And, he did some nice things during the year too. But it just comes down to I don't trust anybody else on the roster. So I don't really want to trust him to do anything this season.
Right there, Whiskey on this one as well. I was going to say, if there are a bright spot, I guess there's three things you can kind of hope for if you are a Charlotte fan. One is that LaMelo can stay healthy for a full season. Two is that you hope that Brandon Miller just gets the development that he needs, because I don't know Charlotte to develop a lot of players either outside of what LaMelo's been able to do. And then I think the other thing to mention is hopefully Charles Lee can kind of, because they did get a new coach. Hopefully Charles Lee can kind of connect with the team a little bit more.
Yeah, they did. They did not like Borrego.
Yeah, he was. I think players, they need to be able to gravitate and kind of connect with their coaches in order for them to want to play hard for their coach. And I think we didn't see that. I don't think we saw that at all. So those are the three upsides I think for Charlotte. What about Washington? So they get Sarr in the draft, and Malcolm Brogdon comes over from the trade. They get rid of. From the Blazers, they get rid of Deni Avdija in that same trade, waive Landry Shamet, and Valanciunas, I guess, is tired of winning as well because he wants to go to DC. So you still got Kuzma, you still got Poole, and you got Valanciunas now. At least for right now, we don't know if that's going to be the start of the season or not. I've heard Kuzma name interested in in some trade rumors as well. So anything we doing with the Wizards ski at plus 30,000?
Nah, winning the division, no. But I think they can be better than what they showed last year. This is actually a team that I made a lot of money with.
The dirty dog.
My dirtiest dog in the NBA, yeah. The Washington Wizards. I mean, if you look at it, they got good players. It's not translating to wins. Jordan Poole, I think he'll start to get a little bit better. It was just kind of like a lost season for him. I think his confidence level will get back and he'll start to play better. Kuzma, as long as he stays there, I do trust him. I think he's a good player, and we'll see what Valanciunas brings to the team along with Brogdon. Those guys are getting a little bit older. I don't like the departure of Deni, so it's probably just going to be another team where I'm looking for good spots to take them plus a lot of points and see if we can get to the window. But division, absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely not. This comment is funny. I forgot about this. RC in the chat says Melo don't care about winning. He just trying to ride his go-kart.
Exactly. That's all he cares about, man.
So much fun. That joint looked like so much fun. It made me want to go do bumper cars as a kid, man. That was. Hey, shout out to RC for bringing that back up. I like that as well. Ray says, I think Trey will end up on out west somewhere. Good morning, Ski and Chris. He could potentially. He absolutely could potentially. I thought it was interesting that the Hawks decided to keep him over DeJounte, but I think that they're kind of tied to.
You think DeJounte is better than Trey?
I don't know, Ski. I think it just depends on the night. Trey is effective from the field. He can really, fill it up. I think DeJounte actually took a step back defensively playing in Atlanta. I don't know what it was. Like, I don't know if he just played with a bunch of guys that can't guard anybody, but when he was on San Antonio, it felt like his defense was a little bit better. I felt like he kind of made his name on defense. He used to have games where he had 4, 5, 6 steals, and he got to Atlanta and he couldn't guard nobody. His defense was like Trae Young defense, in my opinion.
Trae Young, I don't know. For me, is up here. Murray is down here, man. And Murray is nowhere on Trae Young level, in my opinion. Trae Young, we're not gonna forget, bro. He took his team to the Eastern Conference Finals and was doing everything by his damn self. Murray wish he could do something like that.
I would agree with that. I do think that, yeah, but we haven't seen Trae be able to do that since then either, though, Ski. Like that, you can say that
it ain't his fault though.
That's true. I'll say
that. If you give him some solid players, he'll be all right.
That's true. I need to see. We'll see how locked in Trey is for the season. And remember, Trey got hurt last year as well. Like, he got hurt. Mm-hmm. RC, forgot to mention this. Bilal Kumbawale, I think that's how you pronounce it. He's just going to surprise people this year. I saw his workouts. He has looked really, really good. This was Victor Wembanyama's teammate. They both played together before they got drafted. And, his steals plus blocks last year was definitely something. He had a really good chance to guard the opposing team's best player to kind of get some good reps in. So I'm pretty sure locking up Jordan Poole at practice, helps him too. So I will be looking for his prop flash this year. It might be the best bet. This might be the best bet on the Wizards all season.
And I don't know much about Sarr either. So I don't know if you do, but they picked him up. Yeah, hopefully he can be a good boost for them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Sorry, somebody I didn't really follow either, so I'm not going to tell you guys I like him or don't like him. I got to go in and kind of at least watch some film on him or something. Estai says Trey's a one-trick pony. Ball Talk says the Hawks going to win the division.
What's his one trick? Yes, that.
Yeah, I guess it's the three-point shot. I saw Chad says somebody take the pipe from Ball Talk because he think the Atlanta going to win the division. So a lot of thoughts coming in here. And I know I butchered that, KC. She says I pronounced it like Giannis's brother. I know.
The comments cutting up. I just looked at the comments now. They cutting up over there, bro. Yeah, I ain't going for that. Trae Young is elite, bro. Elite. DeJounte Murray is nowhere near his level. Trae, they said it 5 years ago. I mean, his Hawks team hasn't changed. He did all of that by himself. He can score at all three levels. His floater, he got the best floater in the league. He can shoot the three. He's an amazing playmaker. Pick and roll game immaculate. DeJounte Murray could never, bro. Never.
Yeah. So we got some back and forth. Baltar says, thanks, Ski. Helm says, Trey is not elite. So some back and forth for sure. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I think they kind of even out close enough, Ski, because I've seen really poor days from both. And I've seen really good days from both. One of them can get you a triple-double. The other one can get you 40 with 8 or 9 threes. So I'm not going to debate either one of them worth my time. Honestly, I don't like either one of them that much to be defending them. Bro.
They lucky this not my show, man. Hey,
you see what you want to say. He said what you want to say. Steve. You want to say on that?
Says Trae Young is Westbrook that can shoot and not dunk and can't play defense. Hey, RC, we just gonna have a conversation, man. I might have to get this line after the show. That's it.
And then Helm says, "Don't disrespect Russ like that."
Oh my god! Has Russ been to a conference finals besides being carried by KD?
I don't think so.
Or does he always get eliminated in the first round?
He definitely always gets eliminated in the first round. No, it's a perfect transition to the Western Conference, man. A lot of comments coming in though here. Let's go to probably at least one of the most competitive divisions in the Western. So now we're on the Western Conference. We're going Northwest. Ski. We'll start with OKC. Actually favored to win their division this year. You can get them at a plus 150. Looks like it's the best number over on DraftKings right now. OKC getting busy in the offseason. Man. You talk about a front office. Like they doing their thing right now. And they're not even losing anybody. That's the crazy thing. I mean, you lose Giddey, but he wasn't a part of the rotation in the finals, in the Western Conference semifinals anyway. You return Isaiah Joe to a 4-year deal. You also give Aaron Wiggins a 5-year deal. You add Caruso to be able to lock down another lockdown defender, which OKC's defense was already good last year. Then you bring in Isaiah Hartenstein also, which is going to be a big help, for that front line. So should we just go ahead and bet OKC early, Ski, plus 150 to get them to win the division, or do we think Dallas, Minnesota gonna have something to say about that?
Well, I'm in agreement with you that as good as they played last year, proving everybody wrong, they got even better now. The other side of that Bulls trade, I mean, Giddey, he was unplayable. In the playoffs.
Couldn't shoot the ball.
Like, yeah, you can't shoot. Like, what do you? Caruso, he can defend, and you can't leave him open from 3. He can knock it down too. So, I think having Caruso, having Dort out there to defend, the wings, that's a huge deal. This OKC team has plenty of people who can score. A young team who got a lot of confidence as the season went on. I mean, they ended number 1 last year in the entire Western Conference, right? So, I think OKC can absolutely win this division. If they did it last year and they got better this year, I don't see why not. And you're getting a plus price to take them. I know we're going to talk about the other teams, so I'll refrain from talking about it. But I think I'll say this. I think Denver got a little bit worse. I do think the Timberwolves got better, though. So you get a plus price to take anybody in this division. I would just say don't take the Denver Nuggets. So, yes, I think OKC is live.
Yep, and I'm right there with you, Ski, because we'll talk about Denver. Denver's actually up next, but I do think that they took a step back as well, man. They, I don't know if it's a salary cap or what, but when I look back and I think about, Denver, we did a show with, me, you, and RC did a show with Cal, and we talked about, teams to win, how far we thought teams was going to go in the playoffs last year, and I thought Denver was going to win it all again. But you really see that lack of depth really come into play when I sit back and I thought about, why Denver didn't win last season, win it all. That's what come to my mind, Ski, is that they kind of ran out of depth. They, letting Bruce Brown go, not being able to fill in his minutes was big in my opinion. And now you lose, which is the perfect segue. I agree with you with everything you said about OKC, Ski. This team, they won the division. They ended up finishing tied last year with Denver in the Northwest. They both finished 57-25, but they had the tiebreaker. Both teams were identical, 33-8 at home, 24-17 on the road. OKC was a plus 7.4 in point differential, whereas Denver was only a plus 5.3. And they're a younger team. They got even younger legs than Jokic and Jamal Murray. And I just feel like, we saw Jokic do so much. He couldn't get it all done last season. And Jamal Murray was hobbled, and they couldn't get over a Timberwolves team last season. So I definitely think with this core coming back, they are probably the team to beat out west, finish with the number 1 record in the division. So I'll start with that. And they played the division really, really tough last year as well, Ski. They had the best record in the division. Them and the Timberwolves were actually tied for 12-4. So I love that for OKC this season. As we transition into Denver, we just talked about it. They don't have any big signings at all. Like for a team that, kind of feels like they've hit their cap. And, not able to bring in anybody else. No, they don't re-sign anybody. They only bring in Dario Saric, who comes over from, I think he was on Golden State last season. You lose KCP, your starting shooting guard. And Reggie Jackson, of course, goes to the Hornets as well. He was I wouldn't say a key part, but I would say a key part. He was the backup point guard behind Jamal Murray. He had some up days and some down days, but I don't, it's crazy to think because I love Jokic. But I don't think that I would be betting Denver to win this division at plus 175. Ski, any additional comments on that? I think if you do like Denver, the last thing I'll say, Ski, I think if you do like Denver, you're kind of banking on some developmental stuff as well, like we talked about, right? You need Christian Braun to take that next step. Justin Holiday's going to have to play big. Julian Strawther, I was really big on him last season, but you're going to need him to play well also, Ski. What do you think about Denver this year?
Yeah, they'll need Peyton Watson too to take another step up.
And Peyton Watson, forgot about Peyton Watson. Yep.
I mean, I'm with you on this. This Nuggets team, they lost Bruce Brown the year before. Now they lose KCP. I mean, they're losing some key pieces of that championship team, and it's starting to add up here. I am hoping and praying. You said that they didn't have one big signing. I'm hoping and praying that they get one big signing. They've been talking about. Oh man, I would love it. Westbrook goes to the Nuggets. I guarantee Charles Barkley voice. They not winning nothing, bro. So I think the Nuggets have gotten worse. If they get Westbrook, they'll be even more worse. So with the other teams around them getting better, similar to some of the other divisions we've talked about, I don't think it's smart to put your money on them plus 175. Michael Porter Jr., you always got to worry about him and him being a little bit injury prone. He's been better lately, but I'm not buying the Nuggets love this season. I think that OKC or Minnesota are better prices, they're better than the Nuggets right now, in my opinion. So no, absolutely not on the Nuggets.
Yep, right there with Ski on this one as well. Like for all the reasons I just said, it's crazy to think, man. Denver's been such a a strong team over the last few years, but like we said, Jokic just having to do a little bit too much. So maybe you just bet his triple double because he's gonna have to do even more now. If you do like Denver, for the upcoming season, especially if you find him in a really good spot, in a pace up spot against a team that really just gives up a bunch of assists or whatever the case might be. Going back real quick, Wham, what up, bro? Appreciate you for tapping in. He says Isaiah is the biggest add to me. And Isaiah Hartenstein is humongous. KC says, but OKC somehow made it look amazing. Never good when you lose your kitty. Hey, I want to go back, bro. Just a real quick. This comment made me laugh too. I know you don't want to hear the slander, but somebody said if you dislike Trae Young, you should also dislike a taller version of him, Luka.
I'm not gonna be too mad at the comparison, but I would compare Luka more to like a James Harden kind of player.
A lot bigger, I agree.
I like Trae Young and I like Luka, so there you go.
Yeah. Coop says Caruso over Giddey for the playoffs when the was master work by Presti. Yeah, Sam Presti, boy. He needs to have his jersey retired. Yeah. He needs his jersey retired. He should be hanging in the Raptors for sure. And Wham says NBA is done with Denver. Yeah, they ain't looking that good, man. I also think it's something to mention about, like, when we talk about Jokic, this is the last thing I'll say before we move on. When we talk about Jokic, like, I also think that, he always talks about, like, not having a social media account, like keeping basketball in perspective. It's not the world to him. Like, he doesn't want to be remembered for being a great basketball player. He wants to be remembered for, like, having fun and, like, being a great husband and a great father. And to me, I think that comes, like, of course you want to win, but he's won already. Like, so I think that's, even more of a reason why Denver could let up just a tad bit. I do love, their coach. I think, he'll try to get him motivated, but I don't like their lack of depth. And I think Coop mentions that as well. He says Denver lack of depth is the reason why they got bounced, and them being cheap is going to bite them again. Yeah, a lot of it came down to that. I agree. I definitely agree with that. RC says Reggie carry Jackson. That boy will carry the ball. He will definitely carry the ball. KC says Nuggets defense going to be horrible. And the bench. The bench is terrible. No depth at all. Strother season. This is what I said, Coop. I think he definitely.
I like him. Is that old boy from? Did he play for UConn? I know. I mean, I remember watching him last year, but did he play for UConn? I think he did.
When did he play at Ski? He played. He played at Gonzaga.
Gonzaga.
Yeah, he played at Gonzaga. He's the shooter. He's the shooter with the curly hair.
Yep.
Yeah. They kind of went away from him, but they ain't gonna have a choice this year. They definitely not gonna have a choice. All right, let's keep moving, Ski. We got Timberwolves up next. They re-signed Luka Garza off the bench. He didn't really play too much last season. They did add PJ Dozier, which PJ Dozier is an interesting character in my opinion because I like his game. He doesn't really feel like he get all of the opportunity. And then you also bring in Joe Ingles. I say he's a corpse of himself, but I guess it's an OG because you do lose an OG and Kyle Anderson. Jordan McLaughlin is gone as well. Monte Morris is gone. He agreed to sign in with the Suns, which we'll talk about in just a second. Timberwolves kind of proved everybody wrong last year, Ski. A lot of people were saying that they couldn't win with Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns. They overseed everybody's expectations. So shout out to you because when we was on Cal's show, you did have them beating the Phoenix Suns in the first round, and I think you had them win in the second round as well, and they did just that. So what do we think about Minnesota? A team that holds their hat on the defensive end. They were a little lackadaisical last year, Ski, when they started being big favorites as well. Of course, a couple of those games they didn't cover. I remember Karl Anthony Towns, trying to score 80 points or 70 points or whatever, and they ended up losing outright to the Charlotte Hornets. But this was a team that you could pretty much, bank on to play really good defense. And Anthony Edwards, just probably going to continue to get better. I saw the post-practice interview yesterday with Team USA, and he said he's still the number one option. Everybody else gonna have to learn how to play with him. I was like, what? But I think he really believes that, man. And I think, you give him another year to all kind of be together. What are we thinking about the Timberwolves, Ski, to win the division at plus 240?
Well, really quick, I do remember Strother now. He must have played on that team. I remember watching him is what it was. He must have played on that team with Nembhard and Chet. Or he must have played with them. But this Minnesota Timberwolves team, I mean, there's a couple of additions that I didn't even see mentioned, and it's from the draft. But before that, just before I forget, I see Casey saying, who's going to replace what Anderson did for them? He was their go-to when those two bigs weren't working. I mean, they used him one time in one series. I mean, they didn't necessarily need him all year long. I think they'll be just fine without Kyle Anderson. I think Casey's just happy because he's a Warrior now. She thinks he's amazing. But the Timberwolves adding Rob and adding Terrence Shannon Jr., those are two really good rookies to have on this roster. And Terrence Shannon Jr., we'll see how his game translates to the NBA, but he's a dog. He can go get his bucket against anybody, I feel like. And I feel like, him and Ant kind of have that same mentality in my mind. So I like their pickups for rookies. I think that Mike will be good as a vet for Rob. And I think the Timberwolves take another step in the right direction. So are they live to win this division? Absolutely. I think that they'll want to come out and prove a little something after how they went out in the playoffs as well. It did work last season, the two big lineup. I still don't love Rudy Gobert, but as long as you got Naz Reid over there too, I just think this team has some depth. I think they're, Anthony Edwards is a top dog. He's one of my favorite players and best players in the league. I definitely think they can win this division, and I think they're live for the Western Conference again.
Yeah, I agree with that, Ski. I do think that the way that they lost last season, you definitely want to get that taste out your mouth. And I think this was a team that, we talk about them exceeding expectations. I think their expectation was that they was going to win the championship, or if they didn't, that they were, came up short, because Anthony Edwards is that type of a leader, even though he is so young. So I agree with that. I also agree with your opinion on Kyle Anderson. Like you talked about, when it's playoff time and it's crunch time, he did come in and, make some big plays, but I don't think that he's going to be missed that much either. And it's not to diminish his value. I just think that you have other players that are going to be able to step up and, kind of replace some of the things that he did. So I agree with your opinion there. You mentioned, and I didn't mention draft, but Rob Dillingham coming out of Kentucky, being able to be led, like you said, by Mike Conley. They were talking about this on draft night. I think that is going to be clutch for him. Mike Conley's a player that has 15, 16 years of experience in the NBA. So great, being able to, see those dogs, because that's what the Timberwolves are. They're a bunch of dogs, especially if you can catch them as an underdog, one of the better underdogs last season. So, yeah, I think they have a chip on their shoulder to be even better than they were last season. I would agree with you there. Let's see, real quick. Let's see. Wham says, I agree. Kyle wasn't a perfect fit. So it won't be missed in production. I think he can be replaced for sure. Yeah, I think it'll definitely be replaced for sure. Ball Talk says, y'all really think Rob Dillingham going to have an impact like that? I think so, because we know Mike Conley going to rest on the second leg of back-to-backs. We got to keep that in mind, right? Like a lot of the games, he not going to play on second leg of back-to-back. So they're going to throw him out there. And, I think it practices that he'll, come in and learn how to play the game the right way, especially from, a defensive-led perspective first, and the offense will just kind of come. That's what the Timberwolves kind of hang their head on. So I agree there. Last two teams, Ski, real quick, as the odds kind of indicate. Utah Jazz haven't really been doing anything. They re-signed Drew Eubanks. Well, they agreed to a contract with Drew Eubanks. Chris Dunn went to the Clippers. Omar Yurtseven was waived. And there's rumblings that Lauri Markkanen could potentially be going to Golden State as well. So Utah kind of feel like they just want assets. It feels like they don't really want good basketball players. They just want a whole bunch of assets. I guess they plan to be good in 2027 or something. So I don't really have a, strong opinion on the Utah Jazz. They were a team last year. I think with, they do have some up and coming young, good talent. I won't say that, but I don't think it'll be enough to win. And I also kind of think you want to watch and see what happens with Lauri Markkanen. So any thoughts on the Utah Jazz before we get on to the Portland Trailblazers?
Yeah, I'm unsure what they're doing. I feel like, they caught people off guard last year. They don't look like the best roster on paper, but they can absolutely compete. But I'm not sure how many of these guys stay in that uniform. Markkanen, like you said, could be traded. I want to see Clarkson get out of there too. I feel like he can be a good player off the bench for a contending team. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they're absolutely not winning the division, if that's what we're talking about. I agree with this comment. I'm confused what direction they want to move in. So we'll see if they make a trade or if they stand pat, and then that'll probably affect my thought process for this team.
Yeah, because they can be competitive. This was a team last season that won 31 of their 82 games. And like you said, the talent is there, Ski. You got, Keontae George, I think, takes a step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. I love Lauri Markkanen. Colin Sexton is an absolute dog. You mentioned Jordan Clarkson already, but it seems like they could be on the move and move 2 or 3 of these players before the season even starts. So right there with you, right there with Coop. Casey says the same thing in the chat as well. Helm says when healthy, the Jazz are oddly deep. But yeah, they trashed. I
know one of their rookies too. I don't like. I really do not like him.
Who is that?
Slipowski. He's sorry to me.
Okay, I don't even know who that is. I don't think I paid attention. Okay. All right. Last but not least, we got the Portland Trailblazers here, Ski. Another team we'll probably be on for 5 seconds plus 60,000. They don't really do anything. They moved Malcolm Brogdon, who was probably one of the OGs for somebody like a Scoot Henderson. They bring in Deni Avdija, who I do like Deni Avdija. I think, his ability to be pretty versatile, not the greatest defender, but he can rebound the ball. He can shoot it. He can pass it as well. But outside of that, I mean, you still out there with Ayton and young Scoot Henderson and Chauncey Billups, probably, just, I don't know what the Portland Trailblazers doing. Ski, any hopes for Portland this season? They were also nicked up with injuries last year. What are you thinking about Portland?
Yeah, I'm trying to find who they got because I feel like I didn't hear the players that I was thinking of
in the draft.
Yeah, they got Iguodala, didn't they? Iguodala's nice, bro. I want to say he played for was it Marquette? He might have played for. I'm big on Iguodala, so if I'm correct and he went here, it was him and it was somebody else that they got. I feel like Blazers got a couple good moves as far as the draft, and I mean they already got Scoot. Got Anthony Simons. Denny is a big pickup. I like him. We'll see if Jeremy Grant stays or not. He is getting a little bit older, but I mean, if Ayton brings it in and actually wants to play too, I think that this Portland team can be competitive. I think they'll be a lot better than what everybody thinks. Oh, Klingon. Yeah, backup center for Ayton. I think he should be solid too. So between Klingon, Iguodala, and just the players they already had, I'm liking what I'm seeing as far as the Blazers in the near future.
So buy on for the Blazers, Ski, is what Ski is saying. Maybe potential win total over, Ski, something like that.
If it's low enough, I could look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't think we have numbers like that yet, just because the schedule hasn't been released. But yeah, I guess you make some great points here. Shaedon Sharpe was somebody that I like. You got Chris Murray. So a lot of this is going to be developmental for this team, in my opinion. Also, Robert Williams missed the whole season last season, and we remember him being a pretty good defender as well. So I guess there's some hope, I guess, for the Portland Trailblazers, but definitely not for the division. Maybe we'll come back and do another show on projected win totals as the season gets a little bit closer. Let's go over to our division. I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying Klingon is better than Ayton. I'm just saying he could be a solid backup center.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. RC says he done felt the dirty dogs early. Okay, that's what the show. That's what the show like this can do for sure. Let's go over to our division, Ski. We got for people who don't know, Ski's a diehard Laker fan, and so am I. We got the Phoenix Suns listed at the top, but everything kind of up for grabs in this one, Ski. No real strong favorite sticks out. The Phoenix Suns are plus 250. It looks like are the best odds. They didn't really do a lot in my opinion. What did Phoenix do? They because I got Sacramento on here twice. Phoenix didn't really make too many upgrades. What do you think about Phoenix? You think having another year with Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, is enough? Do you think they just need to be a little bit more healthier because they had their own injury issues last season? Or what are your thoughts on the Phoenix Suns at plus 250?
Bradley Beal is injury prone. Bradley Beal is done. Stop thinking of Bradley Beal as a big three player. He's just not that no more. That's kind of what I think about that. And then, KD, as great as he is, he continues to get a little bit older. And you got teams on the West now. We were just talking about division, but I think in this division, you can maybe trust Phoenix for the regular season, but I wouldn't be. They're plus money. Okay, my bad. They're plus money. I thought that they're gonna be minus.
Yeah, but plus 50. Yep.
I think that the Kings can win this division. I think this division is up for grabs from anybody.
Yeah,
and I'm not high on
the odds. As the odds kind of indicate, Ski. Yeah, I would agree.
I don't think that Phoenix Suns should be the favorite, or I don't trust them as the favorite. Is what I'll say. So I'm not betting them in this division. It'll be somebody else.
I would agree. So Bol returned on a 1-year deal. That's what it was. Damian Lee, who didn't play much last season, he was hurt, also got a 1-year deal. They bring Royce O'Neal back. They lose Monte Morris, and they do get some depth in the front court with the signing of Mason Plumlee coming over from the Clippers. Yeah, but I just gotta wait and see, man. This was a team that I lost some money with last year. You go ahead, Ski.
My bad. I just wanted to correct myself. RC did it, but this is where Iguodala went. I guess he didn't go to the Blazers. I must have been mistaken.
Oh, he went to the Suns. So the Suns ended up getting Iguodala. Okay. Not early, Ski. I would need to Phoenix cost not just myself. I know they cost a lot of people money last year with even their point totals. They had trouble scoring, even though they had 3 of the best scorers, in NBA history. Some people would say on this team. So yeah, I gotta wait and see. If the Suns win, that's cool, but they won't be winning me any money. Will not be on the Suns. Let's go over to our team though, Ski. Plus 350 for our Lakers to win the Pacific Division. We kind of, a lot of people think we struck out, Ski, because there was a lot of big names out there and we didn't bring any of them home. Not the big ones. We just re-signed LeBron on a 2-year deal. Torian Prince bounced. He went to Milwaukee. We get Max Christie. We did sign Max Christie to a 4-year deal. I think he got forgot how many million he got, but he got a minimum deal. Yeah, he got a pretty medium deal. And then, of course, the draft was pretty good for us because we did get Connect. We got Bronny James as well. So we returned AD. We still got Bron. Hopefully, Austin Reeves take a step in the right direction. And JJ Redick is now our head coach. Can you talk to me about ham sandwich out there? But we got JJ Redick, who sounds like he knows a lot about basketball. Is it enough, Ski, for us to put our money on the Lakers at plus 350 to win our division? Or how would you be looking at the Lakers this year?
Well, the first thing, which I think is they said that Bronny is going to spend most of the time in the G League, right? So I'm happy about that. I didn't want this whole season to just be about LeBron playing with his son. I agree. I didn't want that, so I'm happy to hear that. I think that Max Christie re-signing is amazing. I'm so happy that we kept him.
Same.
He should have been getting a lot more minutes last year. And I'm gonna just go ahead and blame Darvin Ham.
I was gonna say, got to shout out Ham Sandwich for that.
Yeah, I don't care that JJ Redick hasn't been a coach before. Just getting rid of Darvin Ham is already a plus for the Lakers. He's incompetent as a head coach in the association. I said that before last season, and I still stand on that. So I think that I like what JJ's saying. He wants the team to shoot a lot of threes. He's trying to find ways that we can create a margin with this team. And the players seem to believe in him too. D'Angelo Russell said he likes what he's hearing from JJ Redick. I feel like the Lakers can take a big step. I feel like they have something to prove. Nobody, when everybody's bought in and they believe in what you're doing, it's going to be a better outcome than what we saw last year. Max Christie, I feel like can do a lot of what we need, what we've been missing. He just needed the opportunity. So I think the Lakers are live to win the division, would I take them? I mean, Anthony Davis was Iron Man last year. I think that the Lakers can play with a chip this year. I really do. So plus 350, I do think it could be worth the price there.
Yeah, it does. You know what I was thinking, Ski? It doesn't like it. It's not. I don't think it's necessarily the worst bet. I just kind of worry about when I think about Bron. Of course, he still does a lot for the team. Leads the team in usage, all that good stuff. And if you're betting the Lakers to win the division at plus 350 odds right now, you are betting on Anthony Davis continue to be Iron Man, like you said, right? We've seen him historically, have really, I wouldn't say bad seasons, just seasons where he's not completely healthy for, most of the season, or he misses a chunk of the season. So you are betting on that. And the thing that holds me up with the Lakers is, do they care about winning the division? And that's the part that always kind of scares me, Ski, because with LeBron James being in his 37th year in the NBA, like he could care less about winning the division at this time. And I think, the younger teams that have more to prove, like I think Golden State's going to be fired up this year. Not that they're going to win the division, but they're going to have a lot to prove. The Clippers losing PG going to have a lot to prove. And Sacramento is the youngest of all the teams in our division. And they always, running 100 miles per hour, trying to, knock off all the accolades that they can. So that scares me a little bit if I want to bet the Lakers plus 350 here. But yeah, I like Connect out the draft. I think, we definitely need him to pan out. I love that he fell all the way to 17 for us, because we definitely need shooting. It's always the one thing that, really hampers us, especially as we get deeper into the playoffs, and we always end up playing against the Denver Nuggets for some reason. So yeah, plus 350. I'll find a way to play the Lakers, but I don't think I want them to win the division. Even though, like you said, I would agree with what you said. I do think that they're live. So
what
now
we flip too,
it. Go ahead, G.
Well, somebody said it last year. They don't care where they end up in the seeding, who they got to face. So that's a good point. They probably don't care too much. They just want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, we saw the Lakers stumble, for pockets of the season over the last few years, Ski. And then, what happens when the rubber meets the road? When it was really time for them to turn it on, they went to New Orleans and beat them to guarantee to make sure that they didn't get the last play-in spot. Then they beat New Orleans again to be able to get Dallas as the 7th seed. And both of those games was in New Orleans. So when they really need to win, they will. But we know LeBron James, especially at this point in his career, we can't even blame it on anything outside of So yeah, that's where I'm at with the Lakers. Transitioning to the Kings, Ski. This was a team that took a little bit of a step back, I think, last season. 2 seasons ago, they ended up losing, of course, in Game 7 to the Golden State Warriors. Last season, I actually bet on them, I think, in New Orleans against the Pelicans with no Zion, and they ended up losing that game and really getting smoked. Of course, Malik Monk, of course, was a big part of that. They bring him back to a 4-year deal. Alex Len comes back on a 1-year deal. Now you just add DeMar DeRozan over the last couple days. Jalen McDaniels, who's a really good defender, is on this team for the Raptors as well. And Jordan McLaughlin comes over from the Minnesota Timberwolves. You lose Harrison Barnes. He's in Sacramento with Victor and Chris Paul now. Chris Duarte also goes to Chicago. Davion Mitchell leaves. He's in Toronto. And Vasinkov also goes to Toronto via that trade. So do we think Sacramento got better, Ski? Plus 425? Are they live to win the division this year?
Did they get better? I'm not sure. I think that they will score a lot more with DeRozan over there. They do need, I feel like with Malik, so they need his contributions. DeMar DeRozan will help too, but I just don't see this team doing a whole lot defensively. So that kind of worries me. I think it'll be a team where, do I want to lay points with them throughout the season? Probably not. Will I be betting a lot of overs? Probably so. As far as the division is concerned, I don't have confidence that they can win it. So I guess this is the real up in the air division.
Yeah, it is.
I can't say that I would go to the window and put my money on Sacramento out of all these teams on the list.
Okay. I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the way they finished last season, I think that they'll be motivated. If it was a team to win the division, Ski, I think I'd put my money on Sacramento. I know we haven't talked about the Clippers and the Warriors yet, but I think it will be Sacramento. We saw what they were able to do 2 years ago when they finished with the number 1, record in the Western Conference, or number 2 record, I think 1 or 2. It was them in Denver, I think, for number 1. They finished number 2. I think Sacramento finished 2. But yeah, I think they could potentially get back there. Of course, you need Malik Monk to be healthy. Integrating DeMar DeRozan, I think, is definitely helps. Harrison Barnes, also of course for himself, he's been playing since like 1913, and you still got Sabonis down there, who the triple double threat. And I think the way that they lost also makes me want to kind of bet on them, with them losing to the Pelicans last year on the road without Zion. Like that just kind of stings, and would make me think that the Kings are going to be live to win the division for sure this year. I'm not betting on the Suns, and I think the Lakers, I don't know. And I think KC pointed this out in the chat too. She says load management Bron this year, especially with the Olympics this summer. Both teams in the Olympics this summer, I see load management during the season. If we ever needed another reason to load manage LeBron, this would definitely be it, right? So
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, especially with him being a year number 74. So definitely agree with that. Coop says, good news, Kings finally got better forward depth. Does their defense get better is the real question. They played defense towards the end of the season a little bit. They were going under, and they would buy into what Coach Mike Brown would say at certain points, but then other games, you just see them in a shootout. So yeah, it's real interesting with this team, man. Real interesting with this team. UCapper says we're going to see totals of 250 this season at the beginning of the season. I think so. Might not be in the first week because it's going to take teams some time
Kings
to get their
Pacers
legs back.
Over 250.
Over 250. I'll be right there with you. Right there with you. All right, so moving along, we got Clippers and we got Warriors to sum up the division. The Clippers, they didn't. I guess you could say that they did make some moves, but the biggest thing that they've done, of course, was not bringing back. They didn't want to match that money that that the Philadelphia 76ers were going to give to Paul George. So the Clippers ended up re-signing James Harden, which we feel the same about Harden. Ski, I know we agree there.
Oh yeah.
And you get Nicholas Batum back. Of course, they ended up having to trade him in the first place, so they get him back on a 2-year deal. Mo Bamba comes in for some size because they lose Miles Plumlee, and Mason Plumlee, and of course, Paul George also takes a step back. So they got their own new arena. I seen a new logo and all that good stuff, Ski. I'm glad that they out because they didn't have any jewelry or banners to hang up anyway. So kind of felt like the little brothers kick them out the house finally. Great. Glad they got their own stuff. Not big on the Clippers this year. I think we can't trust Kawhi as we have never been able to over the last few years, Ski. If he can stay healthy, yeah, I still think he's a top 10 player in the NBA. And probably top 5 at certain points if he can stay healthy. But I don't know, man. The Clippers are also one of those teams that really have to develop, in my opinion, Ski. They have a bunch of young talent, and I think I need to see it with their young talent. James Harden, you lose PG, who is not only a good offensive player, but also a really good defensive player, and you bring back James Harden, a corpse on defense, in my opinion. Him getting a year older and a step slower. James Harden used to be great, like really, really good, but he's still really a great facilitator. I just don't trust him on the defensive end. I don't like the Clippers at plus 500 here, Ski. What do you think?
Yeah, just the one team, if I could pick who will not win the division, that's the bet right there. Absolutely. Clippers will not win the division. First, I wanted to mention this, just what you talked about, the little brother thing. I heard Paul George and I think it was Terrence Mann talking on their podcast saying like just how different it is for Clipper games and Laker games. He said, you really feel like the little brother in there, like the lighting is different. Everything is, he said they get the low quality and the Lakers get the high quality. So they get their own arena this year. We'll see how that pans out. Go ahead and get the hell out of crypto. But for this division, for this team, we got to start with Paul George. I mean, they gave up the farm for Paul George. And shout out to OKC and Presti. I mean, they finessed him as it stands right now with Paul George leaving. I see Wham says Kawhi ran PG out the city. I think it's Harden. I think as soon as Harden re-signed, Paul George said, hey, man, I'm going to holler at y'all.
Yeah.
So it's only so much ball to go around. I know that. I don't trust, and I love this. As a Laker fan and a Clipper hater, I absolutely love it. Can't trust James Harden. Can't trust Westbrook if he stays. Can't trust Kawhi to stay healthy. Clippers gonna clip, man. Clippers not winning nothing.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Ski. I'm not high on the Clippers, especially losing one of their best players. And like I said, they didn't really get much in return. I think Nicholas Batum is still underrated defender, underrated player, for his age, but it's not enough. Definitely not enough. Not enough for me. So last team in the division, Ski, we got and I see KC here. We got the Golden State Warriors, also plus 475 to win the division. Of course, big move for Golden State was Klay is no longer there after 13 years. He departs and signs a sign and trade with the Dallas Mavericks. They waive Chris Paul, don't get anything for him. Dario Saric, like I said, went to Denver. You bring in Kyle Anderson. You bring in Buddy Hield, who actually had been shooting the three-point ball better than Steph over the last couple of years. I saw that graphic. DeAnthony Milton, I think, is a slept-on two-way guard that played for Philly last year. He missed a large chunk of the season towards the end because he was hurt. Does Golden State move the needle for you at all, Ski, losing Klay and with the additions that we talked about here?
I'm sorry, my thing just lagged. What's the question you asked me?
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good. I said, based on the moves, right? You bring in Kyle Anderson, Buddy Hield, DeAnthony Milton, but you lose Chris Paul and Klay. Do they move the needle for you all at plus 475 to win the division here? Or what are your general thoughts about the Warriors this year?
Move the needle? I'm not sure about that. What I'll say is Chris Paul was not working over there. To see them get nothing for him though after what they just gave up Poole, I mean, Golden State just going in the opposite direction, and we gotta blame my guy Draymond for this. I mean, ever since the punch, it just been a little bit of a decline for this Warriors team. So I think that's tough for them. I do like Melton. Klay wasn't looking like the Klay that we've seen last year for the Warriors, that we've seen over the years. I do think he'll look better this year, but Buddy Hield, he's been a guy who, he was supposed to have more opportunity, I feel like, over there in Philly, and he didn't. And now coming over here, getting a chance to, be the splash cousin, I think that he will be a big plus for this Warriors team. I think that they will play with a chip on their shoulder because of how they ended last year and also just how they're being looked at without Klay. So I think that they'll bring it from the beginning. I think that they have a chance to win this division. So I'll say this, after summing it all up, talking about all these teams, I do not want the Suns.
Me either.
I do not want the Clippers.
Me either.
I do not want the Lakers. if LeBron is doing, okay, we talked about that. I don't trust the Kings. Maybe the Warriors are the team to take a flyer on at plus 475.
Plus 475 on DraftKings for the Warriors right now. Okay. Ski kind of talking himself into the Warriors. Okay. I think I'll go
nice this time.
I was gonna say, yeah, she'll like that. She'll like that a lot. Shout out to RC, says they still got Kuminga, Porzingis returns. You got Moody.
Yeah.
TDJ played really, really good for them last season as well, especially as the season kind of came down to the end and they needed that defensive presence. He says a good young core that fits their system. Yeah, so I think a lot of it will be buy-in. You mentioned something, Ski, that sticks out to me. I think they will play with that chip on their shoulder this year. Draymond has a lot of wrongs to right, in my opinion. And, now you lose Klay. But, when I think about Klay, I think about not Klay like in the sense of his career, but when I think about Klay, Ski, I think about their last game. When they lost to the Clippers, when I had money on them to beat the Kings, and that game that they lost against the Kings,
yeah, I lost on that
too. If you go back and look at that game, Klay shot. He had as many points as he had many points as me and you, and he didn't make a shot. So I mean, is it really too much of subtraction? I think if you like the Warriors, you play them up and over. Just because if Buddy Hield's going to be out there, I don't expect them to play much defense, but I expect the Warriors to continue to play with pace, something that we've seen for the last 5-10 years with this team. They get up and down the floor. It's a super small team. Not sure what Looney's role is going to be. TDJ is a pretty good defender, but outside of that, I think that they're, I just like up and over for the Warriors. Probably first half more than anything else because they typically start with pace. But yeah, this is a fun division, Ski. It's going to be fun for this division. I think if I had a flyer free bet, it would be Kings plus 425 to win it, though. I think that they can. And I think everything you said about the Warriors, I would agree with here. You mentioned, last thing I'll mention, Ski, before we jump to the last one, you mentioned Draymond kind of messing it up, things going left after he threw that punch at Jordan Poole. I think Bob Myers kind of saw this coming and dipped out, and Mike
Yeah.
Dunleavy's kind of messed everything up.
He said, "Hey man,
he got to take
I'm
some
not
of
gonna
that
be here."
ownership.
The
In my
Magic
opinion.
Johnson meme.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. Let me get up out of here. Bob Myers, like, I'm on ESPN. You know, I got my suit and tie on talking about the games. I don't got to manage Draymond. I don't got to worry about Clay getting re-signed and, you know, thinking he's still worth $50 million a year. Like, yeah, so I think Dunleavy just got put in a really tough position, in my opinion. All right, let's go Southwest. I think this is the last one we got. We'll go Dallas first. Of course, this is a team that, you know, came off the finals last year. Haven't really re-signed anybody. They did add Quentin Grimes coming over from Detroit Pistons via the trade. Najee Marshall's a really big pickup as well. I love what Najee did, what he has done throughout his career, but he had a really good season with the Pelicans last year. And of course, you know, your boy Klay Thompson is where the sign and trade, you know, lands him at. Josh Green, of course, goes to Charlotte because of the trade. Tim Hardaway Jr. is out, and Derrick Jones Jr. also leaves. So some of that depth at the guard position, you know, they kind of replaced those you know, kind of replaceable pieces. When I think about Dallas, I think about, you know, Luka and Kyrie kind of doing their thing, a bunch of lobs being thrown, and then of course, if you got Luka, you got to surround him with shooters. So you lose Tim Hardaway Jr., Josh Green, and Derrick Jones Jr. You know, two-way players on both sides of the floor. I don't know about Tim Hardaway Jr., but you also bring in guys that can knock down the shot. Yeah, none of them in the finals can make a shot, but Quentin Grimes is a 3-and-D type player. Najee Marshall's going to go out there, lock up, and Clay's going to be able to shoot the bat. I do think that he's going to be able to get those looks for sure. The rims in Dallas can be a little stiff, though. What are we thinking about Dallas? Will we take them plus 115 to win the division, or do we think Memphis, New Orleans or even Houston has a chance?
You know, we'll talk about it, and I'll remind myself about the Grizzlies, but these other teams I'm not really interested in backing any of them. Mavericks, I feel like they ended the season playing the best basketball out of anybody. They continued to do it, made it all the way to the finals. They just fell a little bit short, and you had a really banged up Luka, etc. You had guys who couldn't hit a shot. I think, you know, adding Klay Thompson in there, how do you really defend this Mavericks team? You know, Luka, he can control the game, whether in the pick and roll. If you want to go under, he'll step back three. If you want to go over, he'll get to the mid range and kill you. If your big steps up, he'll throw the lob. And now you can't have that game plan where, like, the Celtics are trying to force them to shoot above the break threes because Klay gonna knock it down. So I think the Mavericks are really, really tough. Jason Kidd is a hell of a coach. I think, you know, this is the one team. I mean, you can still get slight plus money, but even at even money or something like that, I think the Mavericks are the, you know, correct choice to win the Southwest Division.
Yeah, so favorite for a reason. Okay. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. I think some of these teams definitely took a step back last season, you know, specifically the Memphis Grizzlies. What are your thoughts on this, though, Ski? KC says Klay, Kyrie, and Luka on defense. I think she's licking her fingers here, Ski. He said, Jesus save us all. But are we worried about them on defense, or we think they got enough offense just to be able to score the basketball, and they still got defenders, you know, with Najee Marshall and Quentin Grimes being out there?
I mean, let's really talk about it. Luka and Kyrie started last year, right? Mm-hmm. And down the stretch of the NBA season, they had one of the best defenses. Was it because of one player, or was it because of team defense? I'm not going to say it's one player who's making them one of the best defensive teams. So I think they'll be just fine.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you said it last year. It wasn't until the finals where Luka, you know, really got exposed, and we don't know how much of that was due to injury. He didn't really want to talk about it too much, but, you know, some of that could have been due to injury. And then when he really needed to play defense after he was terrible on defense, he really did, you know, kind of lock in and play a lot better as far as effort. A lot of defense is just effort. You definitely got to play, you know, use it in the finals, because coach is going to try to find that advantage and take advantage of you specifically if they think you're the weak link on defense. Mike Drop says Luka historically bad on defense. Literally, we'll see how it goes. We will definitely see how it goes. They were a really good team defensive team, and I think a lot of that goes to Jason Kidd. He kind of hung his hat on defense, and I think they bodied the identity of their coach. I would agree with that as well. All right, let's go Memphis up next. We got not much for Memphis. They don't re-sign anybody. Of course, they get Edie in the draft, but, you know, outside of that, no real key additions, no key departures as well. Hopefully, Ja Morant can play a full season. Jared Jackson Jr. took a big step up last season. What are we thinking, Ski, about Memphis at plus 300? Should they even be second in the division to win? Or should the Pelicans be in front of them? Plus 300 versus plus 375.
Yeah, I just had to remind myself about the Grizzlies at all because I just forgot about this team.
Mm-hmm.
Ja Morant goes down and they kind of just disappear. But
yep.
I do think he'll have a really big chip on his shoulder going out here and showing everybody, don't forget about me. He's still here. I like Desmond Bane, but Desmond Bane is injury prone. Marcus Smart, I think he can contribute. I just don't know how much he really wants to be there. I feel like every time Ja Morant was not playing, Marcus Smart just didn't want to play. Jaren Jackson Jr., we know what he can do on the defensive end. He's a really good player too. Brandon Clark, hopefully he can stay healthy. I think a lot of this depends on health for this Grizzlies team because they've shown that they can be really good. They're capable of, being at the top of this division, but I just am not willing to buy it yet. They got to show me a little bit more consistency, I feel like, with everybody coming back. And I'm not a big fan of Zach Edey. I don't think he's going to be good in the NBA at all. So I guess talking it out, I'm not that much a believer in the Grizzlies.
Not yet for the Grizzlies for Ski. I think this comment makes a lot of sense, and it's probably how you would look as well. I got UCapper comment up, Ski. He says Grizzlies as dogs are going to be a thing. Remember last year,
I agree with
they
that.
Still played really, really hard. This was another one of your dirty dogs that cashed a lot for you getting. Plus 10 and a half.
It was down 30 something. I'm getting death threats in my messages. They come back and cover.
Yeah, I mean, plus 15 and a half at home, plus 13 and a half, plus 5 and a half, second leg of back-to-backs, third and fours, all those different things.
Grit.
Yeah, definitely the grit in the grind. And they got some young talent on this team as well, man. Gigi Jackson played really well for them last season. Brandon Clark will be back for a full season this year as well. Santi Aldama out there, stretching out the floor. So, yeah, I think, I don't know, plus 300, but I just feel like that's a little too short in my opinion. But if Ja Morant is back and he can, contribute the way that he has, I feel like the odds makers are telling us that they expected Ja Morant, a big season from Ja Morant with them being a plus 300 right now. It looks like it's the best odds because, Dallas was really good last season. So we'll see. Going over to the Pelicans, Ski. Big news for the Pelicans, of course, is the signing of DeJounte Murray coming over from the Hawks, trading for DeJounte Murray coming over for the Hawks. You lose Jonas Valanciunas and Dyson Daniels. Najee Marshall's gone, and Cody Zeller off that bench. Larry Nance Jr. is also gone. So this front court doesn't have a lot of depth there anymore, Ski. You still got Zion. We know he's been injury prone throughout the majority of his season. Still didn't get a chance to finish the season last year, although he did play more games than he had played in a few years before. So plus 375, Ski. What are we thinking? Does DeJounte Murray come in? And Brandon Ingram also still, like in the trade talks as well. He could potentially be up and out of there, but you do have him and CJ McCollum in the backcourt with hopefully a healthy Zion. What are we thinking, Ski, about the Pelicans at plus 375?
I'm just wondering about the center position mostly. That's what I'm really worried about here.
Yeah.
And I don't really love this composition of players. Like Murray, Zion, Ingram. I feel like it's going to be a spacing issue. I'm glad they got rid of Valanciunas at least. But I don't know. I feel like the Pelicans are going to struggle with the space on the floor. And you guys know how I feel about DeJounte Murray, so I don't even care that he went over there. I don't think it's too much of a plus. I don't think the Pelicans are live to win this division. I think Brandon Ingram might not even be there in the near future. And Pelicans, they're going to have to figure some things out. So, no, not a believer in the Pelicans.
Okay, yeah. I will have to see it a little bit more, too. I think, real quick, going back to what Wham says, he says Memphis is so interesting to me. I really like this team. And I think that they could potentially put it all together. If they can stay healthy with a Marcus Smart, I would agree with this, Wham. I definitely agree. He says Desmond Bane will be a lot better with the lesser role. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. as well. We saw him take a big step up. Ja Morant takes the pressure off of all of them. And Desmond Bane can go back to being that knockdown three-point shooter in the corner versus being a playmaker. So I agree with that, just going back a little bit. But the Pelicans don't move the needle for me, especially with We always talk about Zion potentially, getting injured. Ski. We continuously see it over and over again. If they're not gonna have Brandon Ingram there, and have a lack of size at the center position, I think teams gonna take advantage of them without Valanciunas down there. I think we're gonna see a big, swing in their defense, specifically with them being able to guard the rim. So I definitely agree with that. Houston and San Antonio around this division now, Ski. We got the Houston Rockets looking like plus 300 over on William Hill. Best odds for the Houston Rockets here. This is another team that didn't really make a lot of noise in the offseason so far. Outside of the draft, they just, returned Aaron Holiday on a 2-year deal. AJ Griffin joins the team from the Atlanta Hawks. I do like AJ Griffin a lot. So, you still got the same usual suspects. This was the team last year that really struggled to shoot the ball. I can't remember who they drafted, but I know that they got a shooter with their first pick. And they really needed a shooter because outside of Fred VanVleet, who was sometimes, a little cold, they could really struggle to, to shoot the basketball. So you got Fred VanVleet there. Still got Dylan Brooks. You still got, some depth at the center position as well. What are we thinking about Houston, Ski? Any chance that they could, potentially steal the division at 13-1?
I like the culture in Houston. I like the coach. But I just don't think they have it talent-wise. I do like a few players over there. Just this team is not ready to win this division, I feel like, but they can be a team that you could probably look to go over their win total this year, and a team that can be very competitive. So, division can't put them there, but I do think they'll take another step in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. Alfred Sengun, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., Cam Whitmore should probably take a step up. Amin Thompson was really good for them last season, but more of a defensive-minded team that I think embodies the message from their coach as well. We know that Udoka is definitely a defensive-minded team, and they took a huge jump last season, winning 41 of their 82 games, finishing nine places in the ninth spot. Ended up being eliminated in that Golden State game. A team that was really solid at home, 27-14, but just 14-27 on the road. So they definitely gonna need to improve in that perspective. Last but not least, we got the San Antonio Spurs at 35-1. This was a team that went out. Actually, in my opinion, I think what they did was just added some veteran depth, because this was a super young team last season. I think the youngest team in the NBA. So you bring in Harrison Barnes. You add Chris Paul to go with Victor Wembanyama, a solid true point guard. And they only lose Devontae Graham. What are we thinking about San Antonio, Ski? Maybe even if it's not like a season, them to win the division at 35-1, maybe a potential, win total over, depending on what their schedule looks like and what that looks like. What are you thinking about San Antonio?
I think that Chris Paul assist is going to feed families. That's what I think.
I agree.
That's the number one thing that pops off the page to me. Are they live to win this division? Absolutely not. Wemby take another step in the right direction and finally having an actual point guard. So maybe he can lead them to go over a small win total, but are they live to win the division? No, not a chance. So Chris Paul assist, maybe win total over for the Spurs.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Ski. Definitely right there with you. Yeah, we know that the Spurs play fast. They get up and down the floor. Chris Paul, I think he even went vegan a couple years ago for, just for longevity purposes in the NBA. Him and Victor together is going to be really, really good. I do think that Victor is crazy to think, because he played so well last season, but I still think he's going to get even better, with the development that they have in San Antonio. So I agree with that. Maybe even like I said, a win total over. San Antonio to scare a couple teams, not going to be super surprised if they, are really, really good this season. So, I think me and Ski are aligned there, and definitely Chris Paul assists to go up and over. Would also agree there. So that's it, Ski. We got before we get here, Ski, let's talk about our favorite bet. What if we had a free play? What is it that you would look at, Ski? If you could play, let's just say somebody gave you a free bet and says, Ski, you 5-unit play. What are you betting right now if it's free?
Division or anything?
Anything that we discussed. What maybe something that we didn't discuss. Maybe something we overlooked.
All right. Well, I'll look at, if I'm making a bet right now, I'll look at conference wise. Let me just pull up my book again that I was looking at last night. So conference-wise, I'm going to look at the Eastern Conference. And if we have 5 units, I'm going to split it and put it on 2 bets.
Okay.
And as long as one wins, you should have profit. So my bad. Let me just log in there. Make sure I get the updated numbers. There we go. Boom. Conference. All right. So what I would do is I would take the Celtics at plus 135 to win the East. And I'm going to compare it to last year because I took the Celtics at plus 175. I always say I don't like, these short numbers when you got to lock your money up for so long. But Celtics have been to the Eastern Conference Finals, how many years in a row? And it's hard to see them not getting there again this year, unless they get some kind of crazy injuries. And by the time they get there, they're minus, a big, huge number to actually win. So plus 135 when they get there is going to look good. So I would put 3 units on that. So if they were to win, you would win back a little bit over 4 units, right? Mm-hmm. And then we look at the rest of the conference. You wouldn't try to lock in to where when it gets there, you absolutely can win some money, depending on how, it matches up who plays who. But we talked about a couple other teams. The Sixers do not have a chance, in my opinion, because we can't trust them to stay healthy. Whether it's Embiid or Paul George, we don't trust them. The Bucks don't have a chance because they have the 2 absolute worst coaches in the NBA. And we don't trust Damian Lillard and the combination of Giannis and the declining Middleton. So that leaves the Knicks, the Nova Knicks, who already have the chemistry, who, as long as, and this is hard to think about, as long as Tibbs doesn't run them all into the ground and they can stay healthy, I think that they have a chance. And their odds right now are plus 375. So if you were to put 2 units on the Knicks at plus 375, that would win, plus 7.5 units. So if you add it all up, if Boston was to win, you would win a little bit over 2 units. And if New York was to win, you would win about a little bit over 4 units. I think that's the safest way. I think one of them wins the Eastern Conference.
So Boston and New York to win the conference next season is what Ski likes. So counting out Philly right now, maybe, like I know we talked about it at the beginning, Ski, you talked about maybe Philly win Philadelphia 76ers win total over, depending on what that is, or just them to win the division, and not necessarily the conference. But getting to that plus money, these make sense to me, Ski. I think when, based on everything we talked about, I was kind of jotting some notes down as we kind of talked it out. I think Philly to win the division is a pretty good one. We had that at plus, I think that was plus 350, I want to say. Let me just go back and double check it real quick. We had, Philly at plus 350 to win the division. I think that intrigues me just because I just need Embiid to stay healthy. But if he can stay healthy, I think that's a pretty good one. Plus 350. And then the other one was one that I don't know if we necessarily agreed on, Ski, but Sacramento. Like I think Sacramento is live, and I love the number that I can give with Sacramento. They were plus 4. I know it was a 4 in front, which is what really intrigued me. They were 425 with Sacramento. So I think we talked about the Lakers not really potentially moving the needle for me too much. Really kind of in flux with Phoenix in their lack of their injury history in general. Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, even at times. Kevin Durant missed some games last season. And the Clippers, like you always say, they're gonna clip. So I'm not into taking them either. So I like Sacramento to win the division. If I had to play anything, plus, like I said, plus 475 is intriguing for sure. So I would split mine these 2 ways. I think Philly can win that division. And as long as Embiid stays healthy, that does scare me a little bit. And Sacramento to win the division. This is what me and Ski would play if we had a free play. And that's going to do the show, Ski. We've been on here for a minute rapping about the game. So I definitely appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody in the chat for, coming through and interacting, dropping looks as well. Shout out to my guy Wham. Shout out to Coop. I ain't seen Coop in the chat in a while. Yeah, I think these are the ones that I like. And, we don't have all the numbers for, MVP and, well, there's some MVP numbers out there right now, but we don't have win totals and all those different things. So maybe Ski will do a show before the season starts. Now, can jump in with him, or, we can, I can have Ski back on the show. We can go through that market as well. I always like to go through, I don't really need to go through resources, because I always like to shout out moneyballer.com, because they do have great resources. But for this show, we don't really need to look at the resources. You can look on OddsJam though, because this is where all of these screenshots that are in the, the graphics, this is where I got all those from. So they do all my odds shopping for me to give me the best number that's available. If you guys are interested in that, use code CBC to get you 25% off your first month. You want to try it out. But that's it. Ski, any departing words you want to? Like I said, I appreciate your time. You guys can check Ski out at Ski Profit on Twitter. He also has his own YouTube channel. Always dropping really good content, and he's a winning bettor, right? Like we don't come on here just to talk. We come out here to give winning bets and to make money for ourselves and others as well. Also a part of Wager Talk as well. Talk to him, Ski. Tell him whatever it is that you want to depart with before we get up off here.
You did a really good job. I appreciate you having me on. Always good to come on and talk these games out, talk the NBA, any basketball out with you. I always enjoy it. And you Capper, man. My man knows me well. He knows what time it is right now. So you can find all of my work at Ski Profit, no matter where you look. And appreciate you having me on, Chris.
Absolutely, bro. Appreciate Ski for coming on. If you guys enjoyed the show, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, like the show, share the show. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Like I said, one WNBA game tomorrow. So we'll take a look into that one, see if there's value on Minnesota versus the Sparks tomorrow, before we jump into a big day on Wednesday in the WNBA. Hopefully we can get Ski back on for that show, since he is on the East Coast, man. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Best of luck on whatever it is that you are betting. Like I said, really just wanted to come on here and break down, some of the offseason moves and how we kind of looking at them so far. So again, shout out to Ski for taking his time out of his day and helping us out, break down the offseason moves. Best of luck to you guys on whatever it is that you are betting. If you're betting, MLB or whatever the case it is for today, we'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm out.